On December 20th, 1963, for the first time since the construction of the Berlin Wall, 4,000 West Berliners are given one-day passes to visit their family members for the holidays on the other side of the wall in East Berlin. Let's get some background. Germany and its capital, Berlin, were divided into occupation zones after World War II. Divided Berlin became the epicenter of the Cold War, as the Berlin blockade and Berlin airlift played out just a few years after the end of the Second World War. These occupation zones eventually became Communist East Germany and Capitalist West Germany. East German soldiers began building the structure that came to be known as the Berlin Wall in August 1961, 16 years after the end of the war. Built by the East German government under Soviet influence, the original barbed wire barrier was constructed overnight to stem the exodus of East Germans fleeing to West Berlin and beyond. The wall was soon made stronger, with some sections reinforced with concrete blocks. By the 1980s, the Berlin Wall became a high-tech structure of reinforced concrete with guard towers, a no-man's land, guard dogs, and other obstacles. Families were separated by the imposing barrier that divided the city. More than 2 years after the wall was first put in place, an agreement was reached between East Germany and West Germany to allow one-day passes to be issued to citizens of West Berlin to visit relatives on the other side of the barrier. A massive crowd lined up to get these passes once the announcement was made. Each visitor was given a brochure that explained that the wall was built to, quote, protect our borders against the hostile attacks of the imperialists. Tears, laughter, and other outpourings of emotions characterized the reunions that took place as mothers and fathers, sons and daughters met again, though only for a short time. On the West Berlin side, some newspapers criticized the visitors, charging that they were pawns of East German propaganda and that the communists would use the visits to gain West German acceptance of a permanent division of Germany. The one-day visits went on for about 2 weeks. It's estimated that 170,000 people used the passes. Similar passes were granted during the holidays each of the next few years. In 1971, an agreement allowed West Berliners to apply for visas to enter East Berlin and East Germany more regularly. When the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, the world seemed to change overnight, much as it had when the wall was first erected 28 years earlier. Mrs. Lewis and I visited Berlin in 2022 and saw the remains of the Berlin Wall and other relics of the Cold War in the city. It was a moving experience. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1776, the Continental Congress temporarily removes to Baltimore as Philadelphia comes under threat. In 1914, the Allies launched their first major offensive of World War I in the Battle of Champagne. In 1946, the classic holiday film It's a Wonderful Life premieres at the Globe Theatre in New York City. In 1957, Elvis Presley receives his draft notice for the U.S. Army, serving for 2 years, mostly in Germany. In 1960, the South Vietnamese communist guerrilla group known as the Viet Cong is formed. In 1989, the U.S. invades Panama to overthrow indicted military dictator Manuel Noriega. In 2019, the U.S. Space Force is established as the 6th and newest branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. Where is U.S. General George S. Patton buried? Virginia, California, Luxembourg, or Belgium? Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Find out if you're right tomorrow on Today in History.